Hey everybody, today we're going to do another comparison of a few different diets, and from feedback I've gotten through my messages, it sounds like that's what you guys are looking for and appreciating. So I appreciate that you're getting something out of these videos and understanding how to evaluate food. So that's great. That's my whole purpose here. So I thought we'd try something a little different. Some people, that adage, you get what you pay for. I've always said that really doesn't apply to pet food because the price has very little to do with the quality of the product. It's just marketing. Good marketing can get a high price, and lousy marketing or positioning in Walmart, whatever, or a grocery store gets a low price. So I thought, nope, that's not how we're going to do it. We're going to compare it by nutritional value and the cost per pound of that food. So remember, with all my videos, whenever I'm doing comparisons, it's always which one is the healthiest. I'm not interested in which one's the most popular, which one is the most appealing with their bags or their ingredient panels, but which one is healthiest. And the definition, I'll put it up here because I'm going to use it every time. Indicative of, conducive to, conducive to, or promoting good health as a healthy appetite, or what I like, a healthy balanced diet. So that's the definition, and that's what we're looking at when we look at the different diets. So the ones I chose, Pedigree was one that some of you guys have been asking about. So there must be a lot of folks feeding Pedigree out there. It's been around like forever. So Pedigree is available at grocery stores, Walmart. That's where I grabbed a bag and got the info off it. So we're going to take a look at Pedigree Adult. And then I thought, well, let's switch to something perceived better, a little higher price, but still at Walmart, grocery stores, and that's Iams. So I picked Iams Mini Chunks. It's their adult version, and again, it's been around for years. Iams was a real big breeder food back in the 80s and into the 90s. They had some issues with black coats turning red, which is not a good thing if you're a breeder. All had to do with their calcium levels. So again, nutrients matter, but also I think they kind of lost. They lost the breeder, respect, back in those days. And then Procter & Gamble bought Iams, put it in the grocery store, and then it just so it's kind of floundering out there. So some of you may think of it as a premium food. Some of you are thinking of it no different than Pedigree. So let's see how they do cost-wise and nutrition-wise. Then I thought we'd switch up to so-called premium and go with ProPlan Adult. And look at the cost of that versus the nutrient level to see how that differs, because clearly ProPlan is considered a premium. Maybe not among some of you guys, but in general it's considered a premium food from Purina. And then we're going to stay within that premium line and look at Science Diet as well and see how their nutrient levels and costs compare to ProPlan. So we got everything from Pedigree at Walmart up to Science Diet and ProPlan, and then I have a little extra bonus that will kind of make things kind of fuzzy. So we'll see see what you think of all that. But again, it's all, let's look at the nutrient levels and do they promote good health? Do they help reduce the risk of disease? And if somebody reminded me that a lot of you, this may be the first video you're watching of mine, you really have to go back and watch some of the others to understand. I'm all about nutrients. The ingredients are chosen by marketing people to get it on the ingredient panel to get you to think that food is wonderful. And those ingredients, the definitions are vague. They can mean anything. The ingredient panel is manipulated by weight, not by how much is in the diet. So long story short, go back, watch some of my other videos, and you'll see why when I look at diets, I look at nutrients. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so now what we're going to do is actually compare a few of the primary nutrient levels of those diets to see which one is the healthiest. Never mind the cost, never mind the marketing, never mind all that other stuff. Just looking at the protein levels, because again, protein is great. We want protein. We don't want to be deficient in protein. Excess protein is just an extra workload on the kidneys. It makes no sense at all. We want optimal not excessive, okay? Also, the calcium and phosphorus, I've mentioned it already, and I mention it probably in every video I make. The minerals reveal the quality of that protein source. So let's go through, and the first thing we're going to look at is the protein. So I'll put this up here: Pedigree, Iams, ProPlan, and Science Diet. And there's the protein level in grams per 100 kcals. In other words, for every calorie of food that the animal eats, what is the nutrients they're getting of all these other nutrients: protein, calcium, phosphorus, sodium, okay? So what we see is, if you look at it across the board, there's Pedigree at 6.3. Now again, thinking back to when we looked at that ingredient panel, the protein sources were not too terrific, were they? So something you probably will never know from a food company: are they smart enough and committed enough to make sure all the essential amino acids that protein's made of is in that food? That takes some pretty good chemistry and chemists and nutritionists and all to pull that off. That's something you're not gonna find it. So you're trusting that to the company. But right now we see it's a 6.3, good protein level, not excessive. We go to Iams, they go up a little bit to 7.6. You know, hey, whatever. Okay, it's a little higher, no big deal. There's ProPlan at 7.2. Same deal, not so bad. Science Diet, as you know, I talk about Science Diet a lot. Their protein level is always probably going to be lower than anybody else that we compare to, at 5.9 for this adult formula. That is not deficient. Believe me, people would sue them in a minute if they could for deficiencies. They've raised countless generations of dogs on 6 grams of protein, actually much lower, even into the 4s. So anyway, so there we go. So we just see a difference there in protein. Again, the quality of that protein has a lot to do with is it mostly meat? Is it meat and corn gluten meal? Is it meat and bone meal? Again, a lot of this you're trusting the company. There's no way around that. Some of it is, I won't call it blind trust, but you have to just trust them. Here's where you don't have to trust them blindly. You can actually see the truth. Let's take a look at the calcium and phosphorus levels of these diets. Here we go. Here's Pedigree. Calcium 528 milligrams, phosphorus 320. That's the highest of any that I've compared so far in my videos, okay? The 528 especially. Calcium being that high kind of makes sense with the meat and bone meal. There you go. You know, ingredients are going to deliver nutrients. Okay, that's the key here. Phosphorus at 320 is again pretty high. How did Iams do? Well, Iams, look at their calcium level, 350, way down from 528, and their phosphorus level is 257. Down from Pedigree. So here's an example where it kind of makes sense. We haven't looked at cost yet, but definitely Pedigree's a cheaper food. Iams is a little more expensive, even though it's in Walmart. But you can actually see there's a difference in the quality of these meat sources. Okay, so if I can look at this and look at meat sources and can see that, I'm going to try to, I guess, think consistently that, okay, then if they're giving me good meat sources and spending the money there, they're probably spending the money in the other good ingredients. If they're scamming me here, why should I believe they're not scamming me everywhere in this diet, right? So you can't look at every nutrient, but some of the foundational ones kind of tell you where the company's going. So let's look at ProPlan. ProPlan, most people would think, is a step up from Iams. And what do we find? Kind of interesting. The calcium phosphorus is not that much different than Iams. And I am honestly telling you, I am surprised when I saw that. I expected to see a big difference, and it just isn't there. And wait till you see the cost on this. So here's a premium food, the best of the best from Purina, and here's Iams that most of us kind of consider, one of those post-breeder foods, and it's in Walmart, so how good could it be? Not too shabby. As a matter of fact, Iams is a little higher in protein and still delivering that mineral content versus ProPlan. So Purina is a funny company. They make some amazing therapeutic diets on their veterinary line, And then they'll do stuff like this where you're like, what? That doesn't make sense. So they're not very consistent. Let's go ahead and look at Science Diet. You've probably seen it. I've used it in some of the other videos. And you can see, what do we find? Calcium level 239. That's a big difference down. And we see the phosphorus level at 191. So if you just look across the board, there's a big difference there. Again, look at the difference from where we started with Pedigree versus where we ended up with Science Diet. There's a drastic difference in there, and there should be. One is sold through Walmart. It doesn't play any marketing games. It uses products like meat and bone meal. So again, this is one time where, hey, you get what you pay for. If you're going to spend a little bit of money for Pedigree, you're not going to get the high quality nutrition that you're getting with Science Diet. Okay, let me put up the cost per pound of these foods so that you can actually see the part of the value is, of course, the price. Here's Pedigree at 69 cents a pound, and it's 312 kcals per cup. And remember, we said it looked pretty low energy, and it is at 312. That's kind of low calorie. That's not a bad thing for most dogs. If we look at Iams, $1.55 a pound, a little higher in calories. So we've jumped from, basically we've doubled the price basically to go from Pedigree to Iams. But if you remember, it gave us a much better mineral content and quality of ingredients. So that's up to you to decide, is that your price point. ProPlan jumps up to $2.69 from $1.55. Now again, what's interesting there, it is a little higher in calories, just a little bit. But what surprised me is the mineral content was not really that much better than Iams. So would I tell somebody if they said, I am really on a tight budget and I just cannot afford to spend a lot of money on food, Iams would not be a bad choice here. I will say, I just know because I have this knowledge of a lot of these foods, probably some of the other things like antioxidants and stuff like that are probably higher in the ProPlan than in Iams. So I don't want to really muddy the water there, but it's, again, this is complicated. It's hard to just pick this food's good and this food's bad. But based on what I'm seeing here, it wouldn't be a bad choice to go with Iams mini chunks. And I would not have said that a couple days ago before I called the company and got these numbers. So that's ProPlan. Science Diet comes in almost at the same exact price as ProPlan at $2.67. The calorie count, 389 per cup, not much different than ProPlan and Iams, so they're all about the same. But so look at the cost of ProPlan and Science Diet, they're equal. But I gotta say, ProPlan kind of loses in the cost thing because Iams for $1 less a pound delivered a pretty equal nutrition there. And again, if you can't afford Science Diet at $2.67, maybe the Iams at $1.55 a pound is your way to go. But what I want to do now, it's kind of interesting. This is an example. This doesn't always work this way. ProPlan kind of threw it off a little bit, but generally the lower cost foods are going to use lower quality ingredients. But I keep harping that these ultra crazy so-called premium fresh raw, but whatever you want to call them, all these exotic diets that are charging ridiculous amounts of money, are they delivering better nutrients than these other foods? Okay, so what I want to do to finish up here, we're just going to take Science Diet because we have it at $2.67, so it's one of the higher priced foods. The mineral content is excellent. You may disagree with the 5.9 grams of protein. You may think that they should be getting more. Again, you're arguing with the top veterinary nutritionists in the world, and they've set this for decades, so I think they pretty much know what they're doing. But how does Blue Buffalo, which is a favorite of lots of folks, and Orijen, two foods I hear a lot about all the time and how awesome they are. What about the cost of those two foods versus Science Diet and the nutrient levels that they provide? So let's go to that. Okay, this is the stuff that makes me crazy about the pet food industry. Here's Science Diet at what was it, $2.67 a pound, and I'm just going to throw up Pedigree up here again, and it's only 69 cents a pound. And I'm putting up the calcium and phosphorus for both of these foods, and you can see a drastic difference. Okay, here's where comparison is an amazing thing. You know, I don't care what it is in the world. You have to compare something to something else to know how good or how bad it is. Here's Blue Wilderness, and I use them a lot. They give me all their nutrient levels, so I appreciate that. But here is their calcium and phosphorus level in their Wilderness adult, and I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at the calcium and phosphorus in Pedigree. Do you see a big difference? I don't. It's kind of amazing. Pedigree is lower in protein. Blue is giving you a lot more protein, but again, it's excess protein in my book and in the nutritionists I know, and it's a mineral content that is as excessive as Pedigree at Walmart. So isn't it amazing? Nutrients give you a whole different story than the ingredient panel. That's why me, Dr. Ray, a few other veterinarians out there that have channels are trying to tell you folks, please stop looking at the ingredient panel. Ingredient panels lie, nutrients tell the truth. This is really interesting to compare Pedigree and Blue Buffalo and find the mineral content is almost the same. If your dog was prone for kidney disease, if your cat was prone for kidney disease or urinary stones, that excess minerals, that would be a really bad thing. And yet you're paying, for Blue Buffalo, it's $2.80 a day, so 15 cents more than Science Diet. And this is an example of where you don't get what you pay for. So I'm glad let me show you one more. You might remember I did a comparison, it might have been my very first one, with Taste of the Wild, Orijen, and Blue Buffalo. And Orijen won. Of those three, Orijen had the best nutrient profile. And so here's Orijen's nutrient profile compared to those others. Much better than Pedigree, but still not the greatest here, right? But yet it's $4 a pound for this food on Chewy. So here's a real good example again of people probably feel that Orijen's a great food. The price must be good for $4 a pound. The ingredient panel, if you remember, was a beautiful ingredient panel with 5 different meat sources in the first 5 ingredients. But again, if we're looking at what's healthiest, what delivers optimal nutrients, ironically, it's not Orijen. But yet, so far, it's been the most expensive food of kibble that I've seen. So I hope this has been helpful looking at these different diets and giving you a different perspective. It's the nutrients that matter, and you get what you pay for. Really, as you can see here, isn't really consistent, especially when you get to the higher price foods. Boy, most of those just aren't worth it. The low end foods, sure, Pedigree is not the best you can feed. You saw the nutrient levels, but there's 2 extremes. So anyway, thanks for listening, and the next video I'm going to do one on Jinx pet food. I saw a big end cap of Captain America advertising it at Walmart, and so I want to just go through, since it's brand new, and go through with you and show you the marketing tricks that they're using, and pretty much tear them apart. So, hate tearing apart Captain America, but what are you going to do? Premium food, and I just realized my camera is going down. Ooh.